Good day, everyone. My name's Trav and I'm passionate about photography. I try and do YouTube videos on photography software, tools, and we do run-throughs, tips, tricks, and the likes. So in this video, I wanted to quickly cover Topaz Photo AI 3 and have a look at this software and some examples of how it works on different photos. Now, I've been using Topaz Labs Photo AI for a long time, and I find it a really useful bit of software. Why not look at this and see how it actually works? Now, for those that aren't aware, Topaz Photo AI is a photo software or a utility that's designed to help improve your photos. It's not a photo editing tool. It's really about trying to bring out the best from your photos by sharpening, moving noise through denoise, and also potentially increasing the resolution of your photo. So there are some basic things. So on this screen, I can click on crop and I could crop the photo and so on, but I'm not doing things like increasing exposure and everything else. It's really just how can we tweak the photo to get the best out of it by removing noise, increasing resolution, and so on. So I'm going to start off with this first photo of a bird. And a lot of people would say, well, why use this software? Why don't you have a sharp photo? Why do you need to remove noise from your photo? And there are lots of different reasons, but often it's a trade-off when you're taking, especially wildlife photography, where maybe you need a fast shutter speed, but there's not enough light, so you need to increase the ISO. And by doing that, you create noise. Or maybe the bird's moving really quickly and you can't get a fast enough shutter speed to kind of freeze that motion. And basically, what it means is that you can use some of these tools to try and improve those photos. Now, if I talk about sharpness, it is worth noting that a blurry photo can't be made sharp. There's a limit to what these can do. So if the photo is completely blurry, this is not going to help it. But if it needs a tweak, it may be quite useful. So in this case, I've got a photo of a kite that's sitting on a branch, and I'm going to basically ask the software. I'm just going to say, let's run autopilot and see what it actually thinks. And so I've already basically done this. I'll go apply autopilot and I'll say apply. It would do this automatically usually, but basically what that's going to do is it's going to look through this photo and it's going to try and work out what does it actually need in this photo. Now in this photo, it's identified two things. It's identified that it probably needs some noise removal and it probably needs to be sharpened. Now what you'll notice is it's identified the subject. So it's smart in that it's only sharpening the subject that needs to be sharpened and it's not sharpening the sky and the other things that don't need to be. Whereas denoise is being applied to the entire photo. Now, this one I've left it just automatically work out what it needs to do. I can always click on add enhancements and I could tell it what I want it to improve. Do I want to balance the color because there's a color cast? Do I want to do some denoise? I might even say, actually, I want to make something disappear. So I could use generative remove and I could basically say, okay, let's paint in certain parts of this photo and say, I want to remove this branch because I think it's distracting. Now, I'm not going to do that for every distracting element in here. And to be honest, I think sometimes that is something that's better done in your photo editor rather than this specific software. In my workflow, I would usually use this towards the end where I'm running denoise and I'm sharpening the photo rather than using it to actually remove elements. But, each person will have different, different views on what will work and what won't. So, yeah, we can just say, yeah, we want to remove this and basically remove it in steps and then say, yeah, okay, it's now gone. Now, I'm just going to stop and remove this selection and basically undo, because as I said, I don't think it adds a lot of value to do it in this. Really what I want to focus on specifically is sharpness and denoise. So what I've done there is I've zoomed in to the bird and I'm going to go to the face. And if you look at the face, on the left-hand side is the before, the right-hand side is the after. So you'll see it has brought a lot of detail out and increased the sharpness on that bird. Now there's a little bit of noise, but it's not massive, so it hasn't really needed to do a lot in terms of denoise for this specific photo. Of course, others might be different. And in this case, really all you're doing is you're running this to just try and improve the sharpness of the photo and just make it pop that little bit more. Now I'm going to go into a slightly different photo and you'll see it's analyzing the image and it's trying to work out what it needs to do. Now I'm going to zoom out so it's a little bit easier to see what this is. But basically here I have a photo of a turtle from the zoo that was underwater. Now, we're in a low light environment. There's only so much I can do. And what I've done is said, all right, well, I've got to increase the ISO, but you can see on this left-hand side, there's a lot of noise within it. When I ran this image through, it said, okay, we need to run denoise because there's a lot of noise and we need to sharpen it. And you'll see they've shown up in the enhancements. Now, I'm happy with it running denoise first and sharpen second, but we can move these around. So we can say actually sharpen first and denoise second, and we can actually add multiple enhancements as well. If I go across, you'll actually see that it's brought a lot, it's got rid of a lot of the noise. And it's kind of, I think it is starting to affect the sharpness of that image. But to be honest, because there's so much noise to start off with, it's a little bit hard to tell. But certainly going from this on the left to the right, it has removed a lot of the noise and it's tried to maintain some of the detail. Now, noise removal is really difficult because typically, like general noise removal affects sharpness. So it's always a balancing act. And I could go into here and say, actually, let's do less noise reduction. So I could override it and say, let's only do sort of 50% noise reduction rather than the 70 odd that it was before. And that might maintain a little bit of detail, but of course it will also mean that there's a lot of noise that's left there as well. So, like I said, it's a balancing act. But if we're talking about actually getting a photo or not, when I look at this from sort of a distance and we look at the before and the after, I don't think it's that bad. Like, I think it's done a pretty good job without sacrificing that much compared to if I had have just tried a generic noise reduction tool. Now, there's lots of different photos that will require different amounts of noise reduction. And the good thing with this software is that it analyzes each photo to work that out. So in this case, I have a photo of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and it's saying that denoise only needs a relatively small amount. And if we zoom in to some of these sections, you'll see the noise a little bit more. So if we look at that flag, you can see on the left-hand side, there's a lot of noise. On the right-hand side, there's not much at all. So it's made a very big difference to the amount of noise in the photo. Now, there are some other tools as well that we can look at. And these are ones that, to be pretty honest, I don't use that often, but I wanted to show you just to give you an example. So in this photo here, I've got some cockatoos, and it's going to analyze them and say we should do denoise and some sharpen. I don't think it actually needed that much. But what I could do is I could take these off and I could say, actually, I just want to adjust the lighting. Now, what adjust lighting does is it tries to analyze the image and work out how it can increase the lighting to create a better photo. And you'll see if I zoom out a little bit, in this photo, it has realized that it's probably a bit underexposed, and it's really worked on improving the exposure of that photo. And it's done that automatically. I've just said adjust, so add enhancements, and then I've said adjust lighting. I've left it on the default. I could reduce that a bit and say, well, I only want the strength to be much less, or I could say I want it to be much more as well. There's a lot of flexibility with that, just to kind of do those final tweaks. Now, the last thing that I wanted to have a look at is a stock photo. And I wanted to show this because this is a little bit different. Now, we've got a photo of a couple here, and I'll zoom out. And what the software is doing is it's going to analyze this image, and like last time, it's going to try and work out what changes need to be made. Now, this is a bit different because it has faces in it. And the benefit to this is that the software can identify faces, and it can say, oh, okay, well, let's try and recover these faces and bring out the detail of these faces. Now, I could say I want to recover both of these faces, and I kind of want to do it the same way. What I could also do, though, is I could say, well, hey, rather than selecting all of the faces and doing everything the same way, I might say, well, let's just select this one face. So I could say I want to just work on this face, and then what I could do is I could add an enhancement, click on face recovery, and I could then say, actually now on this one, I only want to work on this face. So you'll see I've got two separate face recoveries there. One is working on the lady, the other is working on the man, and they're working independently of each other. And really, like I said, all I did was add enhancements, face recovery, and in this case, what face recovery is doing is it's trying to improve the quality of the faces, especially if they're kind of low or medium resolution images. In this case, it's going to do the face recovery and the upscale, but I might say, actually, we also want to balance color, because maybe there's a color cast and I want to actually make it a bit warmer instead. So a lot of different options, but really the benefit to this tool is tweaking your photos at the end. So you go through all of your photo editing work, and you then basically come out of it and run this tool to improve the sharpness and remove the denoise. Now, for those people that have used this software before, you might notice that the layout is a bit different. I understand that Topaz are trying to change the layout a little bit to try and make it a little bit sort of, potentially uniform, and the logo has also changed. So that's something that is a little bit different, but it still works fundamentally the same way under the hood. And it's something that I use. Admittedly, I don't do portrait photos often. Really, I do a lot of animal photos, as well as landscape, wildlife, and so on. So, when I'm doing something like an animal photo like this, I will very often use this software to just try and bring out and increase the sharpness, remove the noise from the image as well. And it's something that I highly recommend. I think often it does make a big difference. And you can see as I'm moving across, the left-hand side is a lot blurrier than the right, which is why I use the software, to be pretty honest. If I also look in the sky, you can see there's a bit of noise. As I move it across on the right-hand side, that noise is gone. So yeah, I think it's all in all a very useful bit of software. As always, if you've got any questions, or you've got any feedback, please drop them in the comments, or you'll find me on social media. Thanks for watching.